Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Good Play SEA Invitational. We've got the winner bracket finals, Arrow versus, and this is the loser bracket finals. What am I talking about? This is Arrow versus Invasion, best of three, but it is the loser bracket finals. Winner of this will be squaring off against Mythtrust in the best of five. So a lot on the line here, gods.
A lot on the line indeed. This Good Play Gaming coming to a wrap. One BF3 today, BF5 tomorrow left. So
Yep.
we're reaching the home stretch. Arrow Gaming knocking out Titan yesterday, which was, I wouldn't say a shocker, but the shocker was that both those two teams were in the loser bracket to begin with.
Not yesterday, but day prior, yeah.
Look, time gets muddled here at the BTS studio.
It's true. It's true. Our days start in the middle of the night. So
I'm feeling really short right now. This chair is...
Yeah, I don't know. See, we all have different ways of using the chairs. I like the low armrest with the seat raised, and everyone else seems to like the high armrest with the lower seat.
I like high on both normally.
So
I don't even know how the
usually-
seats go up and down.
It's just a little lever on the bottom. But anyhow, Arrow versus Invasion. We've got
Look, shit's complicated at the BTS studio.
Shit's whack. But Arrow are the pretty heavy favorites here. I think the bets right now are sitting like 25-75, 28-72 in favor of Arrow. So the fans have spoken, gods, and some rares are up to be lost today if Invasion are prepared for an upset. I did cast yesterday the Invasion versus Mythtrust series, and it did go all three games, but Mythtrust were actually the underdogs coming in, and they looked pretty good over Invasion, so I think they'll have their work cut out for them here.
Yeah, I think Arrow Gaming, they're a lot more focused now. They're kind of in proper practice training mode. At the start of the tournament, they were playing with the stand-in for Zhang Zai for a lot of their matches. They didn't have their full team, and they were even picking and playing with like Pudge solo mid, which was like, okay, sure, some teams do this every now and then. Of course, Navi does it, but it looked like they were just kind of throwing away the games and didn't really care because they're playing with a stand-in, so they weren't even treating it like proper TI practice. That changed yesterday against Titan. I think we'll see it change again today. They've also just recently got their visas approved for Seattle. So
I saw that. Yeah,
that's like a
morale booster almost.
Morale booster, and it's just like just one chip off their shoulder. Their entire focus now is performing the best at TI, whereas before they were like constantly probably worrying like, are we even going to TI? Like before they were interviewed, like they don't even know if they're going to get their visas approved. They got rejected the first time, so
yeah, that's scary.
It's a lot more. I mean, I doubt they're more relaxed because they still have to focus on TI. So it's going to be reaching $10 million. So but their only focus is now going to be doing the best at TI, whereas before they had other things on their mind.
Yeah, and Arrow starting off with a little bit more of a conventional draft here, in my opinion. Invasion, they first picked the Treant, and that does open up for an Invoker Bristleback pairing for Arrow Gaming. Then Invasion go ahead and second pick the Wisp, and I don't think they ran Wisp at all yesterday, so this is a little bit different compared to the strategies that are fresh in my mind, but they seem to have this very tanky and kind of push-oriented style. I know they really like Dragon Knight. They like heroes like the Treant that tend to be rather tanky and usually double as pushers or some way for them to gain a little bit of map control, or at least maintain it with that living armor. So fairly standard opening from the tree, but interested to see what they'll pair with old Wispy here.
Yeah, the fact they just picked up second kind of suggests they're not looking for that Wisp tiny combo necessarily. Maybe if it's there, they'll grab it. So we'll see exactly what they have in mind. But it's Wisp being picked up by... Did they run Wisp at all against Mythtrust?
Not that I can remember.
Okay.
I feel like there might have been a Wisp in... I think there was a Wisp Tiny in that series, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm forgetting which team actually ran it. Maybe it was them. Let's see here.
Okay.
I'm sure I can pull it up in a couple of seconds here. Yeah, look at this.
10 seconds.
Yesterday was the day of Morphling, and okay, yeah, they did run a Tiny Wisp combo in the second game, and it was FZ on the Wisp, and I'm not sure who it was on the
Reserve time.
Probably Kachik? Kachik's been playing mid.
He was playing mid, yeah. He played TA in that particular game. He's tagged up as SSSSS on the data.
Which is...
I'm not sure which
I
one
believe it's
probably Snow, I guess.
I think... FC plays support, as you said. I think Ghost is their offlaner last time I saw them playing, and then... Yeah, Snow plays carry with ADTR playing their other support, is how I recall.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah. So we'll see. It worked pretty well for them. That was the game in the series that they won. They lost games 1 and 3, so it did work pretty well. Maybe this is their winning strategy here.
Okay. Yeah, well, you give away DDZ Invoker, so that's always going to be a tough one, as we'll see. Arrow Gaming very comfortable and happy with this. I'm looking forward to TI because a team like Arrow is going to be anytime you give them Invoker, they'll pick it for
Dire team
DDZ, and the hero's definitely fallen off enough that I think a lot of teams will actually be giving it to Arrow Gaming since he's been nerfed so hard. So
Yeah.
we could see some good old big Invoker plays coming out of the upcoming Malaysian player.
And are
TI.
they usually running an Exort Invoker these days? That seems to be what most
Yeah.
teams are doing.
Usually, they ran one Quaswex, but happened to lose when I saw them. So it's mostly Exort.
Yeah.
That's what he during the TI qualifiers. He had some
10
big
seconds
Wododa-esque
remaining.
plays with the Exort Invoker.
Yeah. And Invasion will go ahead and grab their
5
Faceless
seconds
Void, and on
remaining.
Radiant's side, probably their off laner. But, honestly, over the past week or so, I've seen Void in every position
Reserve
except
time.
support. I've seen him off lane, I've seen him mid a couple times, and I've seen him in the classic just position one with a couple of babysitters. So, not particularly telling. Could be the Wisp hero, but I think more likely we'll see him in the off lane here.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. It doesn't really synergize that well with the Wisp, although there's still, I don't think that's
10
necessarily a
seconds
deterrent because Wisp
remaining.
can roam around with the Treant Protector. Treant at level 1 is all about the movement speed.
5
That's why you often see
seconds
Boots
remaining.
first, so you can get that lead seed off with the powerful right clicks. And
Mhm.
you can go Boots first, combine it with a
Radiant
Wisp
team
tether,
pick.
and Treant is just going to zone out any hero. And Tide likely going to be the off. Well, Tide or Bristleback. I think Bristleback may be safe lane with Tide off lane. This is going to be really tough for whoever goes off lane because the zoning potential of a Wisp plus Treant is scary.
Yes, it certainly is, and I feel like I saw this very same opening the other day, the Tidehunter and Bristleback, and again, I'm spacing on exactly which series it was, but
Dire team ban.
it's hard to say how they're going to run it. Oh, it was yesterday. It was the game 2 from yesterday, and it was Invasion that actually opened with a Tidehunter first pick, Bristleback second pick.
Okay. And
It,
10
kinda
with
seconds.
worked for
like
him.
Tide off lane, Bristleback safe lane farm.
yes, that is exactly
Yeah.
what they did.
I like
Radiant
Bristleback's game
team
farm.
ban.
Safe lane Bristleback I've seen be very successful, assuming you have a good mid semi carry like your TA, Invoker,
Dire
Queen of Pain
team
type
pick.
hero. You can't pick like a tempo controller mid like a Dragonite, but
Yep.
well, you probably could. Like Bristleback Dragonite in a pushing draft, like with a Nature's Prophet, could probably work okay. But
Yeah.
I think it fits pretty nicely with like an Invoker mid because Invoker can do a lot of the damage up, while Bristleback tanks up but also does damage, especially early to mid game.
Yeah, exactly. And Tidehunter pretty good for that as well. That's sort of when you have a position 1 Bristleback,
10
I see that as
seconds
a nice
remaining.
mid-game sort of timing where everyone groups up and you have that kind of death ball and you
5
can't
seconds
really
remaining.
just fight head onto it because Bristleback does so much damage and they put him in the front line, and then when you do commit to it, there's a Tidehunter there who's ready to hop in and ravage your whole
Radiant
team. And,
team pick.
well, here we go with the final picks. I saw one Bat Rider yesterday. It was a 5th pick Bat Rider, so he was 5th banned here. Will be an Enchantress as the second support for Arrow with their last pick, and we'll see what Invasion want to do here. They grab the Venomancer, and with a Wisp Treant already picked up, I think that's probably a solo mid Veno with an offlane Void, and I think we'll see our pairing for the Wisp with this final
10
pick. But
seconds
Yeah.
remaining.
no, maybe not. Okay. So Shadow Fiend probably.
Well,
Hmm.
you could go EG style, which would be like the safe lane Venomancer. Like Mason will play like a safe lane farming Venomancer while Shadowfiend goes mid.
Mhm.
Or alternatively, Veno's not a great offlane. I don't like him particularly up there. So I think
No.
Void's honestly the most natural offlaner here, but we could see Invasion mix things up. I like
Yeah.
the Veno pick, especially farming Venos. Like it's just similar to how like you play a Viper where you go for the fast mech, but and obviously having poison damage, not just for the similar motif there, but they just kind of tank up there on the front lines. They do a lot of damage, and you can't really just run into them. Like Viper's corrosive, Venomancer, if you run at him, he just pops the poison over and gets everyone down nice and low. So
Yeah. And okay, Ghost will be the one to pick up the Faceless Void.
10
The Core
seconds
Veno is
remaining.
pretty solid. It's not something I've seen recently, and the last few
5
times I've seen it, it's
seconds
felt kind of
remaining.
like it either works really well or it kind of backfires entirely. The Veno either gets picked off early on and starts to fall behind and is pretty lackluster, or he has a pretty good time in lane, grabs a little momentum, and like you mentioned, he gets an early mech, they start grouping up, knocking down towers. And I guess some of it depends on the mid matchup here. And
So Invoker versus either SF or Venomancer, depending how they lane it.
yeah.
I think it'll be Shadowfiend.
I think it's more
Kachiko will
likely
be
to
on
be
this Shadowfiend.
Shadowfiend main. So is that thinking? Are you thinking perhaps an aggro try with the Void,
No, I think maybe just a straight Void offlane.
straight Void offlane, then a
Yeah.
tri laner on the Venomancer in the safe lane?
Yeah. Wistreant, I don't think the Wistreant will have like a set lane. I think there'll be a lot of just roaming around.
Okay.
Wisp will probably be stacking a lot in the jungle. Like nowadays, Rarely do you see like true tri lanes. Like the supports will maybe be pulling in the safe lane, or well, like one support will be pulling and stacking, one will be zoning out the offlane hero. But
Yeah.
you never really see like a true tri lane because you just get starved so much for XP. But
Yeah.
Wistrean can easily roam as well. Like that's where no one's really safe when a Wistrean is come running at you. Especially with Treant going boots first, which I hope that ADTR does do.
Yeah, I have seen the Treant Venomancer in a duo lane before with a farming Veno, and it's actually pretty potent. If you pair the Leech Seed on top of a Venomous Gale, the slow is pretty ridiculous. You get the 50% on top of the 28%, and it's crippling. You're basically at the maximum movement slow, and you're pretty much just standing there. So in the early levels, it's pretty potent. Certainly a lot of kill potential there. Maybe they'll try and roam the tree and let Wisp handle the pulling so he can get a little bit of experience. That's the only thing I worry about is, Tree can get away with being slightly lower level for a bit longer, but Wisp, you really want to hit that level 6 and start setting up relocates around the map kind of as quickly as possible for the most part.
I think you're right when you talk about the Treant Veno lane, because I think Wisp will just be stacking almost exclusively. He will be sitting behind Shadowfiend mid, probably stacking that far left big camp repetitively, and then Shadowfiend will farm it with Wisp leeching the experience to help him get that level 6. So
Yeah.
it'll just be constant stacking for the Wisp, and Treant Veno can just win their lane alone. Like they have a lot of kill potential, as you said, with the double slow.
And that's part of the power of the Shadowfiend on Radiant, is that little camp right here. And this is a way to really accelerate your farm, and relative to Dire, you can even beat mids that are maybe a little bit higher skilled than you, maybe have better lane control or more support because you always have this to retreat
And
to.
even more so the camp below it, the big camp, because that's often you'll see, even if you don't have a support stacking it, the Shadowfiend will go stack that himself, and then once he has a triple or a quad stack, he'll go farm it with razors. So and then you're guaranteed no mud golems there. They're better creeps to be killing anyways because you get high. It's a big camp, so that's where Shadowfiend on the Radiant's great. At the same time, if it's support stacking, it doesn't really matter if you're Radiant or Dire. Either way, you're getting your supports are stacking it up.
It's just a little more convenient for Radiant, but I guess like you said, if your supports are doing it, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But all right, finally we're on pause. We're ready to get into this game here. Let's introduce some rosters, guys. On the Radiant side, we've got Team Invasion. I have this bad habit of calling them Team Evasion, so feel free to correct me anytime I misspeak. The struggle was real yesterday. We've got Snow playing on the core Venomancer here in the safe lane. FZFZ on the support Wisp. ADTR will be supporting on the bulky Treant Protector. We've got Kachik on the Shadowfiend. I've been practicing with Roland. I think I've got close to the proper pronunciation here. Kachik Imba. Going to be solo mid on the Shadowfiend, and of course Ghost will be on the offlane Void here.
All right. Well, on the Dire side will be Arrow Gaming with Johnny playing the support Shadow Shaman. At the top lane, they've got Enchantress in the hands of Muzen. We've got Lance playing the farming Bristleback. Mid lane will be DZ on his signature Invoker, and in the offlane it will be Zheng Zai playing the Tidehunter. He's going to have a rough time against this Boots first Treant, I tell you that.
Yes, absolutely. Even though he did start Stout Shield first,
Battle begins.
it's going to be rough.
Honestly, this is where I think Tide would be better off with Boots first than the Stout Shield. He needs the movement speed more than the damage block. Like, even if that procs, you're blocking 20 damage of Treant's Whop and 85 base damage, so it's not going to save your life compared to Boots.
Tide on Dire's side.
Oh, look at this rune. Oh, man. He sees it at least. That's the good news.
Yep, there's a Dire Observer down right here. Had plenty of vision, and wow, Tree just goes ahead and blocks the Ancient straight away, so Tide will have nothing to retreat to. Dire's offlane Tide is really rough. I've seen this a couple of times now where it seems this is just a hard matchup in general. Any kind of kill potential lane with like a Mirana and a stun or a Tree with a Venomous Gale. Tide's usually regarded as a pretty tanky offlaner, but not tanky enough to just run up and start smacking creeps here.
Ooh, and FC finds out where the Observer Ward is here early on, so we'll be denying some at top lane, denying some vision at top lane of the lane vision. No, I don't think he'll hang around here. He doesn't really offer much. He's just leeching XP because I think the Void's offlane works because he can get solo XP and get a fast level 6. So even if he has no items, he can go gank a lane with Chronosphere and set up like some Shadowfiend Razors or something. So I don't think you want Wisp doing that. He's going to go back to the jungle, start stacking. He already missed one stack, although it's so early on that it doesn't really matter if you miss a single stack because you'll max out the stacks by the time Shadowfiend hits like level 5.
Yeah. One thing that's kind of curious about the Invasion draft is they don't have a lot of damage to dump into the Chronosphere. Like, they've got some Shadow Razes, they have Requiem, and they have the stuff from Venom, your Gale, and your Poison Nova, but not a huge amount. It's not like an AA Ice Blast or something, and both of those abilities are sort of awkward to try and connect in the Chronosphere, if that makes sense, because of
Yeah,
like they
I
spread outwards from the hero, so it just doesn't work with Chronosphere as well as someone like a Queen of Pain who can very easily dump a huge amount of damage on top of the sphere.
Yeah, it'd have to be very well placed for like Venomancer to walk up to the edge and hit multiple hitters with a Poison Nova.
Yeah.
Shadow Fiend Razors may be a little easier because they're kind of, especially the long razors, but uh-oh, this is looking bad for Tide.
Yeah, he's in some trouble here. The tether's slowing him down. Tree's already used his Leech Seed, but no point in Kraken Shell either, so just relying on the Stout Shield. Will proc a couple of times, and he'll be all right. The Tree and Wisp won't pursue it, and Tide avoids death with actually quite a few hit points to spare.
Yeah. I feel like the invasion supports aren't being as efficient as they could be. They don't need to be pulling necessarily, but there's been no stack so far for the Shadow Fiend. So missing the first stack at the 52-second mark is okay, but they didn't stack anything at 152. This is gonna this is a lot of fun that they're missing out on that potentially Shadow Fiend could be getting. Like this is like a very EG style draft with the greedy mid, the Tree and Pick running a Safeling Venomancer, but they're not playing it in that kind of EG style where you're looking to be as efficient as possible with your neutral stacking.
Yeah, and they will try and man up on Tide down bottom. Leech Seed to start things off. There's your Venomous Gale, and they do have a tether. This very well could be your first blood. That double slow, it's just so potent. Nowhere for the Tide to run it. Oh! Will they let him get away? Okay, the poison takes him down, and Venomancer gets the first blood, but a little close for comfort. That Tree was starting to take some pretty serious tower damage. So
I don't know what Tide got just for either. If he had Kraken, he survives that.
yeah,
You can Kraken off a lot of the Venomancer slows. I can't remember exactly. I think you Kraken off everything except the Poison Sting. You can Kraken off the Poison Nova as well as the Venomous Gale.
okay.
I can't remember exactly, but I remember asking the question once before and I got answered and forgotten the answer. So,
Still, it's rather curious. I mean, that's especially in this rough matchup. You almost always see Tides putting like level 4. You'll see 2 points in Kraken pretty commonly these days, just to help you tank up a bit more. So slightly greedier build from him. And
the main thing is it
build
doesn't
cost
stack
him.
with Stout Shield, which is like you get the Stout Shield, well then you don't
Yes.
want to go early Kraken. That's where I feel like go Boots first and just max Kraken ASAP. Like that's the way Ice likes to play it and become an unkillable offlaner, which I think would have worked out really well here. But
Yeah.
each to his own.
Yeah, it stacks kind of oddly, where in the initial levels, like if it's just the Stout Shield, it's better, and then once you level up Kraken Shell, that becomes better. So like the first point in Kraken, you'll always get that damage block, and then there's a chance that the Stout Shield blocks a little bit extra when you only have one level in Kraken Shell. So it's not totally wasted, but it certainly doesn't stack additively as a lot of people would expect.
Yes.
So, all right, Arrow Gaming up in the top lane. They're going to pressure this Void. They've got the Enchantress rotating in, and she's been pretty quiet, but has a Tomato and a Centaur, and will start chipping at this tower.
Oh, that's a fast buckler.
Yeah, they will zone out Ghost already. That really is a... Where's the buckler here? Oh, it's on the
I heard the
bristle. There
buckler
it
noise.
is,
I was
yeah.
like, wait, what?
Spot
Someone has a
fortified.
buckler? They don't have a Bassi ring though. Like I think Bassi. I guess it's kind of the alternative to a Bassi ring, but Bassi ring's basically like the poor man's buckler. The more, well, no, you're not talking about being a poor man. This is your carry, but
Radiant's top tower is
I feel like you should get a Bassi for this fast push. It also would help him for some mana regen. But hey, either way, they're getting this T1 tower.
Yeah, both teams are pushing the
Radiant's
opponent's
top tower
off lane
is
right
under
now,
attack.
but Ghost, he'll get
Radiant's
initiated
top
on, and
tower
whoa,
has fallen.
first hit time block onto
Dire's
Johnny. That is
structures are
pretty
fortified.
unfortunate, and that will almost cost him. Rasta will be able to TP back to safety. Now the Void hops forward with the time walk. Nature's Attendants come out, and Enchantress will try and heal her buddy Lance
Dire's
here,
bottom tower
and they'll
is
both
under
just
attack.
walk back to safety. Down in the bottom lane, Veno throws some wards down, but that push actually rendered unsuccessful. So Arrow come out pretty far ahead in that little exchange there as they get the first tower kill of the game.
Yeah. Invasion have to be careful whenever they get aggressive because there's always the potential Sunstrikes coming in as well, and that's something which DDZ doesn't even need the setup for half the time to be landing. So they almost find the Shadow Shaman, but unfortunately does not go their way. So they did get first blood earlier, so even if they get a kill there, it wasn't going to be a game changer. They lost the tower, which was the big thing Arrow Gaming came for. And Ghost finds himself now with a lot easier farm, a much easier lane at this top lane with Bristleback completely depleted on mana. This is actually not a great position for the Bristleback to be in. He used a lot of mana to kind of keep himself alive and to get that tower that early on.
Yeah, and unfortunately he's lost lane control now, so Lance is forced to farm in this pretty aggressive position where someone could potentially roam on him. He'll be safe for now, especially since Void isn't level 6, but once Void gets a few more creep kills here, he's more than halfway through level 5. Then perhaps some setup could come and they could try and turn something around with a Chronosphere. So Lance, happy as a clam, farming away for now, popped his clarity, and I think will eventually make the retreat. He's very close to a mech, though. That early tower kill, he got the last hit on it, so he's just about 250 gold away, and they'll be ready to team fight.
Yeah, it's a great timing and all, but it's almost like too soon for it to actually be useful kind of timing. Like, at the end of the day, you want to get the mech eventually regardless. But
Oh, down bottom, Ravage comes out from the tie. There's Shackles coming out from the Rasta. Sunstrike will connect, and ADTR in a bit of trouble, but he'll Living Armor himself, get some help from the Wisp, and no kills will come out. So far, Arrow keeping their tower alive, and could be lining up for a deny. But end of the day, Invasion's second attempt on taking out this tower rendered unsuccessful, and both two of their heroes very low hit points. Veno will actually be forced to pop a salve here, and now they'll go in to try and commit for this tower.
And Trine will just lead you to creep to heal everyone back up, and yeah, the tower we brought down one way or another. Wisp actually getting the last hit, not really ideal by any means, but at this stage you just let's get tower. Make sure they don't get the deny in.
Yeah. Not ideal, but certainly not so bad either. Veno already has his Arcane Boots and Ring of Basilius. Tide just gushing all over those creeps there. It's good stuff. So Veno getting his core items up. He's also level 6, has Poison Nova. He blew it down there in that last skirmish we just saw. So going for the ward build primary and just continuing to pressure this lane.
Yeah. Looking at the one that we haven't talked about much, mid lane, SF versus Invoker. SF well ahead on CS. He's got a good 17 CS advantage, and that's without too many stacks. He's gone back to the neutrals once or twice, but he hasn't actually been farming that much of the neutrals, so I can only imagine if this Wisp had been stacking like triple and quad stacks on different big camps, he could be huge right now, but I mean, he's farmed enough as it is. He went for a Midas, got the Midas at almost the exact same time as the Invoker, so they're pretty even on farm with Arrow Gaming getting the early tower, but Invasion have struck back, so neither team really with a big edge, but I kind of worry about the Shadow Fiend because he's getting uncontested free farm right now. Invoker needs to come into play ASAP with the double Forward Spirits.
Yep. Absolutely. And it looks like Shadow Fiend will just be going for a fast BKB. Has himself the Ogre Club already. And up top, Chronosphere comes out onto Lance. Venomous Gale connects. The Tree's walking his way over for some Leech Seed action. And Lance will just try and TP out. This might be successful. Yeah, they don't have the damage to bring him down. Second time that's happened in the top lane. And wow, Wisp even TP's in at the end. That was a pretty serious rotation for no kill.
Their only stun is Time Lock. Well, I guess Chronosphere, but Chronosphere used to start the fight off, so
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, until Trink gets level 6 and his Overgrowth, that's where Bristleback's like, okay, I'll TP, and that 10% bash, yeah, that's probably not going to work for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what the Rasta did in the skirmish they had earlier after taking out the tower. Got in a little bit of trouble, they interrupted Shackles. They did interrupt his Shackles with a Time Lock, and then he just TP'd out.
Yeah.
So
that was the same thing there. He got a Time Lock in the Chronosphere, so chance of him getting another Time Lock right after suddenly diminished, and that's why the TP out is. Like, he only got 2 right clicks off while he was TPing. There was no way he was going to get that cancel.
Yeah,
we're taking some big Admiral Bulldog RNG there.
Well, Arrow will start to make a rotation up top. Looks like they do want to defend this tier 1 tower. Treant has a double damage rune on here. It is a 4-hero rotation. Shadow Fiend, the only one not joining Invasion right now, and Arrow will actually smoke up around the backside. Johnny looking to initiate with the Shackles. He does actually have 3 points in the Ether Shock here, and there you go. Shackles come out onto ADTR. Now the Poison Nova flies. Where's the real action going to break out? Ghost hops forward, right onto Johnny. Wisp has already gone down. It's a 1-for-1 trade to get things started, but then they lose the Veno, and now Arrow off to a pretty good start in this fight. Tide joining the battle, throws out a Gush onto Ghost, and even a Ravage. That secures the kill onto the Faceless Void, and it's a 1-for-3 trade, only conceding a death on one of their supports.
Yeah, that was a Invasion just pushed up really far there. They didn't even back off when the flank was coming. They were completely trapped and surrounded against a double Forward Spirit Invoker. He was always going to clean up. And now mid lane, possibly Kachik overstaying his welcome. Sunstrike after a Gush will land. There's your Hex as well as an Ether Shock. 75 HP, Shackles lands, dead Shadow Fiend. Johnny will pay for it with his life, but he got what he came for, well worth it.
Yep, and Tide, he'll work his way through the trees. Looks like he'll be able to make the escape. While this was going on, there was a kill on the Treant in the top lane as well. Looks like Bristleback was able to pick up a solo kill here on the support tree. So Arrow picking up kills left and right. Again, they lose their Rasta, but acceptable losses for this stage in the game.
Yeah, it's small support for the super fun enemy carry. He's got 83 CS at 10 minutes in the game, so
yeah,
you'll take that for sure.
Yeah, Invoker's still pulling up his gold, but he is at about 2,200. We'll see what he wants to invest in. First item after this Handamitis, perhaps Force Staff coming out for him, or just straight into a Necro Book, as a lot of Exort Invokers choose to do. He's got a couple of options here.
Yeah, let's see what DZ prefers here. He likes to go for the flashy plays, the Sunstrike, the combos, which is more where you go for like the Full Staff, Blink Dagger type builds, like the kind of Dendy style, but definitely the conventional is the Necro Book, and I think that's more likely what we see.
Yeah.
They can pressure towers so well early. You talk about the Bristleback, and you're combining with Serpent Wards. that's where Necrobook is just such a natural item build for this draft of arrows.
Yeah, and plus the Enchantress on top of that as well. Certainly a lot of pushing synergy there. Tide looks like he's pulling up for a Blink Dagger. 1,600 gold up on him. He'll clear out a small Ancient stack there with his buddy Lance. And Lance just hanging on to a casual Belt of Strength right now. I wonder maybe a potential Halberd coming out for him. A Sange into a bit of evasion there.
Yeah.
I guess it could be a Necrobook.
It's like, you're going to go really hardcore push, your Bristleback gets Necro, but...
Uh-oh, Wisp. Wrong place, wrong time. Walks down to the low ground for the rune. Right into some shackles. And that's kind of just a feed there. Johnny picks up an easy kill, and that'll be his level 7 as well.
He was trying to get a ward down really aggressive. Like, he wanted even on the other side of the river rather than just place it defensively on his side. He wanted to go get vision. I think if you put it across the river, he could scatter Roshan, which is what he's thinking. Like, look, there's an Exiled Invoker, there's Tide, Enchantress. They can rosh super early with Untouchable, with the Minor Summer from Gush, with Serpent Wards. Let's try and get a ward that can see them go into the Roshan pit, but... you get punished for it, so... yeah,
and it's just rolling the dice a little bit, walking down blind like that into the river right as a rune is spawning. You know, maybe there's nobody there, maybe they're camping top, or maybe there's a Shadow Shaman and a Tide just ready and waiting for you to pop by. So.
As a support, you sometimes just have to take these chances where you go in a position where you're telling yourself, like, let's just hope they're not there, because if you get that ward down, it gives you and your team, like, a lot of information right now, but...
yeah.
It's a feed, but it's somewhat a calculated feed.
Yeah. See what you mean. It is going to be the Necrobook out first for DDZ. Has the level 1 book on his person now, so perhaps they are going to gear up for a push. Enchantress has a creep, and yeah, they'll rendezvous in the jungle here. Johnny, level 7, has the Rasta wards online, and they are hungry for blood. They will roam forward, perhaps looking for the Shadow Fiend. And, well, they're going to take their time for now. Johnny's smoke will get popped, and that'll be enough for the Shadow Fiend just to head back into the jungle and look for something to farm up here. But
we'll be Roche for Invoker. He's in there alone for the time being, and he can kill this alone. Sword Spirits alone can just keep on tanking it up. Mozen, though, will make his way in, maybe help with the Untouchable, but no Serpent Wards. Johnny just saying mid, so they see Johnny mid. They're not really... they're expecting when Arrow to go for this Roshan to bring the Serpent Wards, so... I highly doubt Invasion will scout this out. Even if they do know what the Rosh is going down, if Serpent Wards are used, they can't fight into Serpent Wards of the Roshan pit. That's just not really feasible.
Yeah, they just do too much damage, and especially in close proximity, that little bit of splash does start to add up as well. This will create some space for the Shadow Fiend, who is still farming like a madman, the last hit leader by a huge margin, 115 compared to the 85 of the Invoker, and number 1 on net worth. He will have a complete BKB, but there's Rosh going down, and it is Invoker to grab that early Aegis, so... he's got a second life, and now maybe Arrow will group up and start commencing with the push.
Yeah, we're going to get some good team fights. You've got a Void Chronosphere, you've got an SF with BKB, so this SF is not going to be food by any means in these fights. He can offer a lot to the team, and then Poison Novas, you've got Serpent Wards. This is just going to be team fight central once Arrow Gaming start 5-manning and going for these pushes, because Invasion either have to give up the towers, go for a counter push, or they got to fight and try and initiate with a Chronosphere.
Yep. Arcane Boots now up on the Rasta, so one other tool that may come in handy for these pushes. Tree is still not level 6, which is really kind of a cause for concern. We mentioned the lack of interrupt on Invasion, and Overgrowth is one valuable piece of interrupt that they actually do have. So Tree not too far off the mark, halfway through level 5, but if a team fight breaks out before that, could prove difficulty for Invasion.
Just a spell like Rasta Shackles, like, what do you have to cancel that? Void's not going to just, like, I mean, if he's already, maybe he's already used Chronosphere if it's the middle of a fight, or he doesn't want to have to use a Chronosphere just to cancel a Shackles.
Yeah. Like, I guess you just have to get Void up on the Rasta and close your eyes, hope for the best, but actually he only has 1 point in time lock right now. He went full backtrack, so still a pretty low % chance that you're going to get that interrupt. And even a level 2 Necrobook up on the Invoker now. As Arrow do pull some rotations towards the mid lane. Everybody joining the party except Mozen. He's still in the jungle farming away, but they do seem to be gearing up for one of our first team fights here.
Yeah. Living Armor's kept these towers pretty healed up here, and one thing that is tricky to do is pushing against Plague Wards, as much more so than the Living Armor. Like, Living Armor, if you're 5-man pushing, just gets melted away. And
whoa, 10-second BKB forced out from the Invoker alone.
He's got so low. He was just so scared of a Sunstrike. He could potentially still get Sunstrike and found, and meanwhile, Wiz almost getting blown up. There's 2 heroes who are potential Sunstrike targets right now. DDZ and 12-second times could go fishing for FZ.
Yeah, Tier 1 tower falls here in the mid lane. The Rasta Wards do the last hit, and now Snow, he's in some trouble. He takes a cold snap, and they'll just start clicking him down. He will pop the mech. That helps heal him up a little bit. Wand charges as well, but Arrow, they haven't even really committed to a fight, and they've already come out pretty victorious. DDC alone has just been zoning out Invasion heroes.
Yeah, that was good, really good stuff from them. Void now buys a Mask of Madness. Had 3k gold. Could have bought this a long time ago, which is, I guess, just indecision as to what item to buy. If he needed damage or if he could go straight Ag Scepter.
Maybe considering grabbing a Midas and just farming up here, but...
I like the Mask of Madness pickup. I think you can go this before your Ag Scepter. You may as well, so you actually get damage output. Like it's the most cost-effective damage a Void can really get. So. Well.
Yeah, and he has that unique property of the Chronosphere, so he doesn't have to worry too much about the damage buff that it puts on him. So all around good item on Void. The classic build seems to be that now, either into an Ags or BKB, and then the crit for a little bit of damage. So we'll see what trajectory he follows. Mid lane taking some pressure, but Snow could be in trouble here. Tide does have a Ravage available on the high ground. There's Mosin. And there will be a Poison Nova coming out from the Veno, but not before getting completely obliterated. Invoker that gets that kill. Wisp gets picked off as well, but the Chronosphere from Ghost comes out. There's your Ravage, and not enough to keep the Aegis alive, but they do secure the kill onto the Faceless Void. BKB popped by Ketchik, and he will try and TP out, but will be successful just barely. Wow. Double damage rune was actually up on the Shadow Fiend. I didn't notice amidst the chaos, but he did have double damage rune on. So it is basically a 1-for-3, but the only kill they get is on the Invoker who had that Aegis of the Immortal. So Arrow come out way ahead in that team fight.
Yeah, the SF was in a position where he got a great... inside the Chronosphere, he hit Requiem of Souls, he hit a Raise, but there was just not enough damage.
Yeah.
Even with that, like, people just stayed alive. The Invoker dying, losing Aegis isn't really a big deal. That's what it's there for, and you kill off 3 heroes with it, so... T2 Tower looking like it's going to be brought down to follow this.
Yeah, Cold Snap out on ADTR, and the Treant will take a spill to get things started. 3-man Deafening Blast with the Meatball coming in. Now Ghost joining the party. He TPs in. Once DDZ, he might be able to find him as he time walks forward. Will turn back for the Bristleback. Now DDZ, a few more auto attacks ought to do it. He'll take a tumble, though. That looks like just a 2-for-0 so far. They're continuing to pursue, and now they get a kill on the Wisp in return. That makes it a 2-for-1. Roster Wards come down in kind of an awkward position here. They zone out the Void, and that will sort of break up the fight. Arrow cutting their losses for now, and they'll go back in onto Snow. He's got living armor, but it'll only do so much. Impetus chunking him down, as will the Gush, trying to bait this fight back into the vicinity of the Rasta Wards. BKB popped by the Shadow Fiend. That'll secure the kill onto the Enchantress, and I think Arrow lingering around a bit too long here is now Johnny. He'll get left behind. He gets slowed up by the Venomancer, throws out a Hex on a Ghost. Shackles, just not enough damage, and Faceless Void will get mech'd and living armored back up to safety.
And Shadow Fiend will find some yummy Serpent Wards as well, so that gets him a nice boost to his gold, up to 2k gold now. So Arrow Gaming, as you mentioned, they just really overstayed their welcome. They were there for so long after, like, already losing 1 or 2 heroes. Like, they were diving so hard, taking big tower damage. They lose Bristleback, and after that, they just had to really back off. But Invasion possibly going to do the same thing here. Kachik maybe pushing his limits a bit too far as Invoker TP's back in. Tide.
Hasterin on the Tide, so he's trying to man up as much as he can here. Now has 4 points in the Kraken Shell, so feeling a little bit more aggressive. DDZ caught inside the Chronosphere. They might be able to deny this tower. No, Shadow Fiend will finish it off, and that's a dead Invoker. Now Arrow looking for more as they rotate some more heroes in. Lance in the front lines, Johnny blinking forward, Mosin doing some damage as well, but there's your Overgrowth. Lance taking a lot of damage, most of it to his back, so Quill's coming out like crazy. There should be a Ravage coming up. There it is. Ghost caught in. It looks like he'll be the target of choice. Johnny secures the kill with the other shock. Now they turn to Snow. He takes the Hex, and whoa, Wisp with the relocate. That'll keep his buddy alive. But Wisp probably won't be so lucky as he will be forced to relocate back.
Does Shadow Fiend actually go in? He's got the BKBs being pinged out, though. Arrow Gaming see him, and
he brings the Veno back with him. That'll secure the kill onto the Shadow Shaman. And now Lance is on the run. Maybe bringing the Veno back will be enough to tip the scales in this fight.
Kachik is just too beastly right now. He's just manned up with that BKB and said, hey, look, Wisp, man, you're not going to die. We're going to actually fight this. And they get a Shadow Shaman kill. They don't lose anyone. So well played by Invasion. This Shadow Fiend is in a position where they can hold and carry this game.
Yeah, he's just farmed enough, and now Mosin in a big bit of trouble. Throws out the Nature's Attendants.
What are you doing?
Barely TP's home, but
is just,
TP seems to be the counter to this Radiant team. But other than that,
yeah,
I feel like Arrow could have just, instead of dropping that second set of Rust Awards right here, that was the time when the fight was pretty much already lost, and I think they should have just headed for the hills. Maybe one of their supports would have gotten picked off, or maybe you throw down the Rust Awards to try and zone them out so you can all get away, but no reason to hang around at that point. You didn't have a Ravage anymore, and they kept that team fight going long enough that Ravage actually cooled down in that entire skirmish. Yeah. That's how long that team fight was.
It just kept dragging, and Arrow Gaming just drawn out team fight's okay if you have like key heroes like your Invoker alive, which is just not the case.
Yeah, they'll find a freebie on the Wisp in the bottom lane, but only a minor pickup. Looking at the gold graph, Arrow are still holding on to a small lead, about 3,000 gold and somewhere about 3,000 experience, like 2,200 gold. Pretty substantial difference from where it was before that team fight, though. It was upwards of about 6,000 gold, so they did take quite the tumble. There's that Blink Dagger on Invoker, so following more of a DDZ style, as you were mentioning.
This is actually also a really good item against Void, because if you got fast reactions, which DDZ sure as hell does, he tries to Time Walk it in Chronosphere, you can actually blink out mid-Chronosphere cast, and he completely whiffs or airballs the Chronosphere. Like mid-lane, he's using solo Chronospheres on this Invoker, so if Invoker's got fast fingers, he'll blink out and dodge it.
Yep. And whoa, down
Does
bottom.
not do so, though.
Speak of the devil, he goes straight on to Johnny. Poison Nova comes in. That's a dead Shadow Shaman, and now DDZ could be in some trouble as well. Tide joining the party, trying to keep his Invoker alive. A meatball flies down from the sky, definitely blasts the boot. And will the Ravage be enough to save DDZ, though? Overgrowth comes out. There's your Ravage. DDZ stuck next to the Void. He'll throw a few more auto attacks, but still goes down in the end. Looking for the recovery kill on the Void. Tide spamming that Anchor Smash. Where's the rest of this Dire team, though? Nowhere to be found. And Tide will get left all alone. He takes a Gale, but somehow still at a pretty high level of HP now. Nature's Attendants joining the party. Wisp will get chunked down by the Impetus. Void forced the Time Walk away. Now Snow, the one that gets left behind. Mosin trying to finish him off, but again, Living Armor coming out just too damn strong. And Enchantress will TP back to safety. So.
They just keep giving like these free kills. I don't know. It's you have your Invoker out there with just one teammate, and a Chronosphere with any sort of a backup is going to be kills. Even if Invoker maybe gets away from that one, you're going to lose your teammate. Top lane, meanwhile, Kachik may get chain stunned up. Can they actually bring him down here? The damage is going to be tricky to do, and he's going to go for the instant TP. Right clicks from Lance, not enough.
Yep. BKB TP home successful, and Shadow Fiend going straight for a butterfly here. He's working on the Eagle Song and not too far off the mark. Not really a natural MKB carrier on Arrow. Invoker can do it, but I think a Hex might be the better way to deal with it, of course. The Polymorphs do disable the evasion, so I think that's probably the better route to go with it. Shadow Shaman also has a Blink Dagger, so as long as he can initiate with a Hex, they might still have a chance of bringing down the Shadow Fiend. Yeah. That should be the next stop for the Invoker, though, the Scythe of Ice. And as I say that, they'll move right into the Rosh pit.
This is needed so desperately by Arrow Gaming. They're just fighting a bit sloppy, having people caught out, but Aegis can just kind of fix that. That's where you can afford to play sloppy, and hey, you can use Aegis as bait in some way. So DDZ probably should be picking this one up, and
yep.
We'll see. Yeah, Invoker takes the Aegis. So.
And there's your butterfly on Ketchik as they take out the top tier 1 tower. That does level out the tower count now, 3 apiece. All the tier 1s have gone down, and both teams have all of their tier 2s still standing. So pretty even on that front. And that will actually just about zero out the gold graph. Tide does have a big item pickup, though. Not the Blink Dagger I was thinking, but he does rush the Pipe of Insight after the Arcane Boot. So a great mid-game team fighting item, also great for pushing. And even the Bristleback going a little more mid-game oriented here, goes straight into a Sanjin Yasha after the max. So no Halberd, just an SNY, and now it looks like he will move into an Assault Cuirass with that Hyperstone.
Well, we may be seeing our first T2 tower going down bottom lane. Venomancer can't really do too much here with the Plague Wards. They're kind of starting to just fall off at this stage, and we'll see this T2 tower probably brought down uncontested, but trade's coming. It looks like Invasion says, screw it, we can't really defend, we don't want to find the Aegis, let's go for a tier 2 of our own at mid lane. Force TP's back, which means Arrow Gaming pushes over, and I doubt they catch anyone here. There is a Blink Shadow Shaman, but Shadow Shaman's TP was second and isn't going to catch up to the Shadow Fiend.
But the tree, he may get cut off. Mosin walks right into him. DDC catches him as well. Cold Snap, Deafening Blast, Meteor, more than enough to finish off the tree. And they find another freebie as they retreat towards the mid lane. Unfortunate path for the Treant to take there.
Yeah, that was a nice bit of play there. As they catch him out, they're going to go for another tier 2 tower. So everyone's on cooldown for a bit. During this Aegis, probably we'll just see Arrow Gaming take all these tier 2 towers. Like, Invasion can't really fully engage. Maybe they try if they can see a good opening for a fantastic Chronosphere, but without that, fighting into Mech plus Pipe and Tide Ravage and Aegis is just not really a good idea.
Yep, and even Alacrity on these Necro 3 units can be pretty scary. Void hopping forward, though. There's a Chronosphere out, and Lance is actually in the front lines. Void won't do a hell of a lot inside the Chronosphere. He'll just head back out. Overgrowth comes out, and Ketchik looking for the Requiem, but the Ravage has already flown. Venomancer will secure the kill onto Bristleback, but down goes the Shadow Fiend instead. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and Arrow coming out pretty far ahead. Invasion headed for the base, and now Snow, he's on the run. Throws out the Venomous Gale, connects onto Mosin. Meatball flying down, might be enough to hedge him out. Well, won't secure the kill, but buyback from the Shadow Shaman now. He'll go in onto the Enchantress, secures the kill there. Looking for a kill onto DDZ, but Ghostwall comes out, and Invoker will be just fine for now. So this tower will stay standing here in the mid, low on hit points, but Ketchik forced to buy back and prove some dividends as he kills the Enchantress.
And they can heal that up. They've got a Treant Protector, so that'll be full HP in a couple minutes' time. So again, it feels like Arrow Gaming just kind of overextend. They don't know when to back off. They don't know when to focus the objective there. They chase unnecessarily. They could have just got the tier 2 tower, but they chased for kills which they didn't get. And I guess the good news is you force out a Shadow Fiend buyback, and Invasion are kind of even though they get a 2-for-1 trade there and hold their tier 2 tower, it does cost them quite dearly as far as the Shadow Fiend's current gold is concerned. The other big concern with Shadow Fiend is he kind of gets forced to use his BKB really early, but he's down to a 4-second BKB already. So this is kind of the stage where Tide Ravage is once again pretty good against the SF, because unless SF is holding onto his BKB for a long time, and then he's in danger of dying to Shadow Shaman, to Invoker combos, he's likely to get ravaged in a team fight.
Yeah, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with only 4 seconds of magic immunity. He may just go ahead and grab a new BKB before too long here. Maybe a crit will come out next or some other big damage item, but I reckon a fresh BKB will be on the docket for him as this game continues. More big item pickups though. Ghost on the Faceless Void now has his Ag Scepter, so a slightly shorter cooldown on the Chronosphere. And Venomancer will start packing quite a punch of these team fights. He now has an Ag Scepter and a Veil of Discord, almost level 16 for that level 3 ulti as well. So a lot of potential damage output for him. The Ags and the Gale or the Ags and the Veil are not something to scoff at. They really do a lot of damage. Wards come down in the mid lane, and they will secure this tier 2 tower.
Get it before the living armor heals up too much.
Almost overkill there. They maybe could have saved the wards and rotated up top, but either way, tower goes down. And Invasion doing a bit of pushing of their own, doing a lot of damage at the top tier 2. TP's coming in, and that will be enough to repel them, at least for now.
It does allow Invasion to potentially just farm these Serpent Wards at mid, although Void pops his Mask of Madness and gets brought down instantly to half HP, so he's going to be a bit careful here. But yeah, Invasion, they're kind of in farm mode right now. They are not in position to fight against an Aegis. They want to get these just big 30, 40, 50-minute items up, and that's going to basically try pushing the late game. They're just going to be late game. They're just going to be trying to defend the high ground as much as possible. They don't really care for contesting their own tier 2 towers. They're just going to try and stall Arrow Gaming, so they can't just take the towers completely for free. But as far as actually jumping in, I think it's not really in their best interests. Yep,
that's for sure. Now Void does have a Chronosphere available, so if they want to make a hold at this tier 2, they may have a chance to do so. No glyph available. They will throw some living armor out on it. And actually, we see the Tide right around the side here. Invisibility rune on, looking for some initiation. Very close to a Refresher Orb as well. Tower falls, stun from the Centaur onto the Faceless Void. If they could get a Ravage off here, this could actually be devastating for Invasion. Tide thinking about it, will use it onto Snow and Ghost. Now the follow-up damage, Meteor flying down from the high ground. Veno manages to get his ult off before he dies. The Overgrowth comes out, big Requiem from the Shadow Fiend. He gets caught inside of the Chronosphere, and they do secure a kill onto the Bristleback. They'll go for the Tide next. Arrow, where are they going to go from here? They'll just make the escape. Tornado flies through. Johnny throws out a Hex as he tries to make it away, and it looks like he'll survive. Mosin, though, won't be so lucky. Tries to man up to secure those kills, and he does take a tumble. So ends up a 1-for-3 trade. And Arrow does get the tower. Again,
damn, that Veno ulti, man. That did a lot of damage.
Yep.
That brought everyone down.
Tide even used his pipe as well. So that's with a pipe. You almost, I don't know, what do you do at this point? You start getting magic armor or magic resistance across your team? How do you deal with this? This kind of kamikaze Veno build where he can just, even if he dies, if he gets off the Veil and Poison Nova before he goes down,
everyone's getting down.
Kind of worth it, yeah. It's
it's like a 1k damage everyone hit. And the thing is, they went in on the Venomancer thinking they could maybe kill him before he ulted, and it just allowed him to hit 4 heroes with that very ultimate. So, it's. I think the big thing is once they get their next Aegis and Cheese, when they're trying to push in Siege, they're just going to be pushing with your typical sieges. You have 1 to 2 heroes on the front line seeing the tower, and then Venomancer never gets a chance to hit 4 to 5 heroes with that Poison Nova. They made the mistake of going in for a kill with all 4 to 5 heroes, and that just sets up that Poison Nova, whereas a normal siege, it's just your 2 core heroes, your Bristleback and maybe your Invoker just right-clicking the tower. And then Venomancer, if he gets an ulti, it's only on 1 or 2 heroes, and you can mech him up. You can use the Nature's Attendants. you can negate that damage a lot easier when it's on just 1 or 2 targets.
Right, that's a fair point. And now Invoker, he will go for that Scythe of Ice, so another tool to deal with the evasion of Shadow Fiend's Butterfly, and he did stop off for a crit, went straight into the Daedalus, and boy, is he hitting hard. Shadow Fiend hitting for about 350 a pop. That is pretty scary. Still on that 4-second BKB though, so susceptible to gank for sure. He does get pinged out down bottom as Arrow grouped up around the Roche pit. Looks like they do want to hop inside if he was available, but Roche is yet to respawn. They will instead settle for a smoke. Everyone except Bristleback, he gets left behind, but they make a rotation down bottom. Unfortunately, the heroes they're going for will TP out to safety before they can make it down.
Bit of a weird smoke. They'd already been missing from the map a long time before they even decide to smoke, so if Invasion weren't fishy like before the smoke, they're definitely feeling fishy right now about what's going on, so Arrow Gaming will sweep through the entire enemy neutrals, but find probably next to nothing. Unless they go all the way mid lane, and that's where Kachik could be in a vulnerable position. They've even got the Observer, which gives them great vision right now, so
Smoke expires, but they'll see the Shadow Fiend farming up the neutrals here. He gets Hexed to start things off. No BKB for you, Mr. Shadow Fiend. He will fall. Now FCZ trying to save his Shadow Fiend buddy. He'll be in some trouble. He pops the relocate, but they should be able to bring him down. Tornado flies through as well, but doesn't even need it. Mosin secures that one with an impetus. Easy 2-for-0 trade. Great smoke from Arrow as it ends up turning out. And they will press forward perhaps for high ground. Ghost in the top lane, but he will back out straight away to help his team defend.
There's even an Assault Crest now as well, so
Oh, Void doesn't have a TP. He's going to have to run all the way. Oh, no. That's disastrous.
at least a tier 3 tower. Like, Venom needs to start going, like, running in to drop a Poison over, even to save Raxus right now.
Yeah,
He
Shadow
veils
Fiend.
buyback from SF. He wants to wait for the Chronosphere, because Chronosphere is going to set this up.
And now Ghost hops
he
forward,
gets
but he gets hexed. He's going to get
Double
brought
hex.
down. And he'll get ravaged as well. BKB popped by Ketchik. He'll press forward. Buyback from the Void, so there is still potential for a big chrono here. And Tide has gone down. I think Arrow may be best to just cut their losses and get the hell out of there. They will have to feed some Rost awards, but they get the tier 3 tower and force a buyback on the Void. Still a great exchange for them.
Yeah. Unlike the last couple pushes and engagement team fights they had, they don't overextend after getting the good initial engagement. They get a couple kills, they force a buyback, then they get up cleanly without giving up freebies to Invasion. So a really nice fight going Arrow Gaming's way.
2 buybacks, Shadow Fiend and Faceless Void, who get nothing in return.
Yeah.
That is really big.
That's SF's second buyback this game, so he's still top of the net worth chart, but you can just kind of imagine where he would be otherwise. And
Yep.
Arrow Gaming right now, they can wait for the next Roshan. This is going to be Aegis and Cheese. They've got pretty much all the items they need. Johnny's just about to finish an Aghanim Scepter for the Shadow Shaman, and that's where this high ground push, defending this, is going to be really tricky. Also, Refresher Orb for Tidehunter is complete, so everyone on Arrow Gaming has basically their luxury items. Like Shadow Shaman farming and Ags, Tide farming a Refresher. This is not really items you'd expect until you get to this late game stage, which we're kind of approaching, but Invasion don't have any kind of luxury items for themselves, apart from the Shadow Fiend, who's getting a lot of farm.
Yeah, I would say the Veil of Discord is about as close as they've gotten to luxury items. But on a basically position 1 Venomancer who had safe lane farm, those are pretty standard core items, I suppose. He will go back for a Blink Dagger now, which is kind of interesting. Snow can really go for that sort of suicide Venomancer, as I like to call it. Just blink in, drop your full rotation, and hope for the best. Maybe get a Ghost Scepter and sort of walk your way back to safety if possible. But what's important is making sure you get all of that damage out on as many heroes as possible. And once you burn all your spells, you're not really that useful alive anyhow. Venomancer's right clicks are not particularly scary. So I like the choice here. It does help his positioning quite a bit. Third Roche has now respawned, and Arrow will smoke up before moving into the pit, and they'll go right for it. Should be able to bring it down very easily here.
Invasion has smoked up themselves, and it looks
Doesn't
like
matter.
they're going to be way too late.
The minus armor is just too much. Bristleback on Dire is so great for Roche, stacking up that viscous, sticky goo there. And it's actually Bristleback that grabs the Aegis this time. I reckon it's the Invoker that grabbed the cheese. No.
Bristleback's got both right now. He's
Yeah.
hoarding.
There you go. Yummy, yummy cheese.
Where's this auto loot share? Please.
So Bristle getting scared. He also has an Assault Cuirass now. I'm not sure if we mentioned that, but makes pushing that much easier with the minus armor and also helps him tank up quite a bit. So all the tools that they could ever want.
Yeah, and they've got buybacks where it's kind of needed on Bristle and Invoker, although Bristle obviously cheese and Aegis. No way this guy's... This is where you kind of try and negate the power of the Venomancers, accepted by only having Bristleback on the high ground hitting Raxus. With the Ford Spirits and the Necrobooks maybe, you can Alacrity the Bristleback, you just can't really go on it.
Yep, here we go. Chronosphere to
kept
start
Johnny
things
down.
off. Johnny gets dropped. Shadow Fiend on the outside of the sphere doing a lot of damage, but the Void
combo.
goes down, as does the Venomancer from the DDZ on the outside. And it's looking good for Arrow as they continue to press forward. The Rasta Wards come down onto the high ground, and now Ketchuk without a BKB. He will get chased down. He has evasion, but it's just not enough to keep him alive. Or is it? The relocate takes him back to the well. It's a 1-for-3 trade. Racks still go down, but the Shadow Fiend at least survives for now. Doesn't matter. Evasion in big trouble here, and yeah, there's the GG. Well played.
Yeah, they had a couple really good team fights, but all on the back of the Shadow Fiend, and then you get to a point where Shadow Fiend's BKB drops down to 4 seconds. Arrow Gaming finished up their core items. You really want that long BKB for when Arrow Gaming have their core items, and he just got it almost too early for his own good.
Yeah.
Arrow Gaming's 5-man was just a little bit stronger, and being on that dire side guaranteed them Aegis after Aegis. And
Yep, they had all 3 Rosh completely uncontested. That last one was the closest they came as Invasion were rotating their way up, but got there too late. And yeah, that final chrono looked like it was really good. Shadow Fiend was on the outside. He like just dropped the Shadow Shaman. Was like, oh, maybe they can make a hold here. And then you see the rotation from Invoker fly through, and that was all she wrote. So much damage out on the Venomancer and the Faceless. And just a good team fight. Good execution from Arrow. They got a little sloppy in the mid game, but they tightened up towards the end. And once we saw those double buybacks come out, that sort of felt like the beginning of the end when they were controlling Invasion.
they had a draft which was kind of had a nice kind of room for error. Like when you're going for these suicide push style drafts, I mean, it's like a push fails here or there because you throw down, like you just get a bit too aggressive. It's like it's okay. You just come back with the next one.
Yeah.
As long as you get a tower or something, even if you die, lose 3 or 4 heroes, you still got some gold for your team. So you're not really just giving up a whole lot. You're still moving forward, gaining momentum, getting your core items up. Because Arrow Gaming, they took those bad fights, but
Yeah.
every fight they come back for, they still had another big item. Like it's like you're losing fights, but they keep getting new items. They keep getting towers. So you never really actually pull ahead when you're Invasion, even though you're winning those team fights.
Yeah, and at the end of the game, some of the concerns we had about the synergy between the Invasion roster sort of seemed to shine through. There just wasn't a lot of easy spells to dump inside the Chronosphere. I mean, Void did a little bit of damage.
Yeah.
Sure, Shadow Fiend threw a couple of raises and auto attacks towards the end, but you know, not like an Ice Blast, not like a Chain Frost, none of those just huge crippling ability. Even just an Invoker for that matter, throwing some meatballs into the sphere, kind of gave him some damage on the other side of things. So only game 1 though. This is a best of 3, but a lot on the line. Invasion now 1 game away from elimination, and conversely Arrow 1 game away from the grand finals against Myth Trust.
Cool stuff.
So we'll have a quick break here, guys, and then game 2 of this best of 3 will be underway. Though it seems Steam is having some issues here, so we might have a slightly extended break. But stick with us, guys. The conclusion of this series coming up after this.